Now, I'm not saying that there's no beauty and value in learning to be so committed that you're willing to sacrifice whatever distractions might come along the way, in which case the relationship becomes a spiritual practice in essence. I think that's great. That's beautiful. Cool. That's valuable. I've used it that way myself many times. To stick to a principle, to be committed to a principle, there's a beauty to that. However, at the end of the day, if your partner is truly inspired in a certain direction, shouldn't they be allowed to? Is it love to not allow it? And to then glorify when they sacrifice even the most relevant portions of, because for some partners it works. It's very rare in my opinion. But for some partners it works. So there's exceptions in the sense of that's their spiritual journey together. And they fully signed up for that at a soul level and it just works for them. And yes, there's sacrifices made along the way, many probably, but the bigger thing, the bigger inspiration is that commitment on both sides equally so. Rare, but possible, and it exists. I've seen it in some cases, but I'll tell you that at the end of the day, those rare examples that have established after 20, 30, 40 years, that degree of love, if at that point the partner truly has an inspiration that feels like it's fundamental to their life, more fundamental than continuing that particular shape of commitment, then if that love truly has been love and it's been established, there would be no objection to that partner. There might be some challenge. There might be some catalyst. There might be some insecurity that is triggered, but if the love is truly that strong and the commitment has been truly to each other's souls and well-being and not to cover up one's own insecurity, then there would be a natural generosity there. That's my hypothesis. And if it isn't there, then it has, for the most part, been using each other as rugs to shove each other's insecurities under, so to speak. Cover up, big cover up. Relationships are cover up. And I'm saying this not to make anyone feel bad about it, but to kind of get what could otherwise be a super long story, to try to get it across in one sentence so that people feel what I'm pointing to. So I'm saying it in kind of a crude way that all relationships are basically anti-love, so that people have to wait a second, and then try to logically, truly, objectively as you can, try to refute this understanding. And I'd be curious if someone can. I'd be very curious. But sort of, I understand this might be in people's faces a little bit because we have so much attachment and romantic ideas about relationships as equaling love and that commitment equaling love. But how could it be love? If I need you to restrict yourself in order for me to love you, how could it be love? So if you restrict your spiritual expansion, if you restrict the knowledge of getting to know yourself at a truer, intimate level and learning from all the relevant dynamics you can engage with in life, if you restrict yourself from that learning, keep yourself in a box, don't grow, don't learn, don't spiritually grow and mature, then you're praised in the society as being pure.
It's so fucked
It's
up.
the impurest thing you could do to each other, but we idolize it in movies and so forth. And as purity, as love.
By trying to get into a relationship, you're denying yourself all that growth potential.
So much learning. We learned so much from all kinds of different entities. Why restrict that learning? And sometimes it's inevitable that with learning, there comes an energetic, intimate connection, some soul recognition, some auric energetic exchange. The chakras are matching and balancing each other out, and boom, 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 boom. You're becoming a more balanced entity for the most part. You can also digress, but for the most part, you're learning about yourself through relationships. And that's so crucial to life, is learning. It's growth, it's expansion, it's knowledge of who you are and why you do the things you do and why you believe the things you believe, and what is true and what's not true about you, and what's your true purpose, your true alignment, and so forth. And for the most part, relationships, although they claim to be pure and loving, they try to restrict that movement of growth as much as they can. And again, there can be occasions where it's good to practice to have a committed relationship for a while. just because you agree to a certain container, maybe you know yourself like, oh, I get distracted too much. And actually what's serving my overall spiritual growth and my alignment to my true life right now is to sort of be in a more monastic experience by being exclusive with this person. And I want to kind of go in depth with this person with no other distractions and no other processes. And I realize that with all the conditioning that we have about relationships, if I were to be free to be with other people, it would inevitably cause processes in that person and in myself. And that would distract us from the actual learning that we want to do together. So for a period of time, I agreed to be exclusive with the knowledge that probably it won't be for the rest of our lives, just so that we're clear on that.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, that feels great. Let's be mutually exclusive, just to have a really focused, narrow experience of learning, of growth, of expansion, of generosity, of becoming more loving beings, becoming freer, purer beings. Then it's great. But then it's used deliberately. It's not used to cover up insecurity. It's used as a platform, as a temporary structure or architecture to enable the most amount of growing and freedom. Then it can become this mutually supportive type of agreement. But that's not typically what we call a relationship.
Mm. It's pretty rare for a lot of relationships to even talk about their agreements. They just seem to unconsciously agree to the conditioned agreements.
Nice.
And the general structure of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then you only find out what the like rule was once it's broken.
The what was?
What the rule was or what the agreement was once it's broken.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe they just watched two slightly different Disney movies when they were 6 years old. And they thought they agreed to the same Disney movie concept, but it was actually slightly different.
Really?
Yeah.
And when you did something that didn't happen in Aladdin, and I did something that didn't happen in Peter Pan, then you betrayed me.